the What's Good podcast.
Hey, ladies and gents, this is your girl Brianna Javon with another episode of What's Good podcast, and we are here for season 4. I am super excited. I know it's been a minute, so please forgive us, but we are here and we are back in action. With that being stated, you guys know we do not have interviews. Instead, we have genuine conversations, so let's get into it. Today, we have a special guest, and his name is Adeola Ogundipe. Did I say it?
Still kind of close. Ogundipe.
Okay, so how am I supposed to say so I know it's the last name. So go ahead and say your entire name for the people.
Adeola Ogundipe.
AKA Addy.
Yes. That's what yes. If you feel like you know me, just say Addy. And yeah, you got me.
All right. So I want to say thank you so much for coming in today, having this genuine conversation. And as you guys know, we get started with icebreakers. So let's do it. Your icebreaker for today. What has taken you the longest to get good or decent at?
Getting in front of people and speaking.
Really? Did you start as like a young child or?
I just think it's more of a nervousness, trying to get people to buy into the conversation you're getting ready to have, right? Is it coming across in the right manner? Are you offending people? Are you stumbling over words? Those type of things. So it's taken me a long time to just trust myself in that aspect and go deliver it.
So how did you prepare for today?
I didn't. I just told myself, make it happen. You know what I mean? So what do you have to lose is my saying that I typically say. So I go with that attitude everywhere now. What do you have to lose?
Nice.
And if I don't have a lot to lose, then I'll do it.
I know that's right. Versus, okay, the risk is bigger. I'm gonna have to think twice about that. Gotcha. Okay. So how we always start our conversations. Who is Addy?
So Addy Daddy is hold on, wait. You wanna know about me or you wanna know about business? Oh, who's Addy? I am a Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria and moved to DFW area in '96. And I was pretty young then, so pretty much I grew up here and remember everything here, right? So upon doing that, went to high school in Irving, and then went off to college and stayed in Houston for a little while, and then moved back to Dallas to work.
Okay. So what made you move back to Dallas when you were in Houston?
Trying to find a job in my field was a little tougher down there at that time. And it's kind of funny how I ended up coming back here. I came home for a weekend, and my sister's like, "Have you been applying?" And I was like, yeah, I have. So I just ran downstairs real quick and went on Monster.com. I'm telling my age, but I just hit a whole bunch of job posts in Vernon County. And then the next day I got a phone call. So that's how I ended up moving back.
Gotcha. All right. So just reading stories about I do my research. Your father stop laughing. Your father was pretty much in the kitchen. Do you feel like that's something that inspired you to, of course, be a cook and get your seasonings out there and start your business?
I necessarily wouldn't say that. Just to kind of give you a little background about my father. He worked a lot, right?
Okay.
So those little precious times that I got with him was him teaching me something in the kitchen, right? And I think I cherish that so much. There were life lessons that were learned in the kitchen. Dinner table, life lessons were learned there as well too. So I cherish those things and bring it forward. As far as how I got into cooking, now that was the story. My mom cooked the wrong meals on the wrong night. So
I need for you to elaborate. Like Sunday dinners was on Tuesday and Wednesdays.
So she would make dinner. It would be two different types of dinners, right? We would get American food, and then she would make my dad Nigerian food, right? But she would make spaghetti on a day that I wanted tacos, right? So we were playing about it, and my dad got upset one time and just said, "You know what? From here on out, I'm gonna buy you groceries that you need. Now you're gonna start cooking for you and your siblings, right?" So me being a bonehead, I was like, "Okay, I'll do that then." So that's really how I got started with like cooking. And yeah, that was
That
that.
is hilarious to me. Because I know that was like something similar to my mom. They grew up in the country. And if you didn't eat what Big Mama cooked, then you have to find your own way. So for you, you at least had an option. They was like, you know what, we're just gonna buy you groceries and you figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. Think of swim. So I don't know if he thought I was gonna end up coming back and saying, all right, I need you to cook again because I suck at it. But I actually paid attention to what he was teaching me. So it was like little small things like tacos, French toast, patty melts, just those little small things that because when he moved here, he went to
Mhm,
school in Chicago, Illinois. He actually worked at the Drake Hotel. Like it's a family joke that we said. Back at the
uh-huh.
Drake Hotel was what he used to say. So
Okay.
now when we're talking about someone like, oh, back at the Drake Hotel, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? They used to make eggs Benedict like this, right? So everybody would laugh about that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, just getting those little basics kind of helped me, and then I was able to then watch my older sisters and develop my own palettes that I wanted to bring
So the whole family can cook. That's what I'm hearing.
out. Yeah, I had my sister. One of my sisters is a chef. Her and her husband, yeah, like bona fide chefs.
Mhm.
I'm a home cook.
I just stay at the house. I love that. And so what was the transition for you to make that leap? Because you're still, as far as your career, you're still in the 9 to 5 while
Yes, I.
also being in the business. So what was that transition? What would that look like for you moving to adding more on your plate with your business of Addy Seasonings?
Well, I mean, it would actually look at me scaling, right? So taking myself out of the day to day
Mhm.
would be it. So I could still do whatever I need to get done, but then have some more hands to help me get through the processes of getting the seasonings together, packaging them, and then get them delivered.
See. And so was it the situation where you had to figure out how to balance things?
Um, no, I'm still on the grind right now. I'm
Mhm.
still in the grind. But one thing about entrepreneurship that I'm learning and gaining
Right.
is there's several ways of doing it, right? And if you want to do it right, you have to plan accordingly. So for me, it's kind of like, all right, what do I want my life to look like?
Mhm.
Because I look at this business as it's a service business.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm taking my time out to serve my people. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like everybody in this world, I'm taking my time out to come serve you guys. So how do I do that efficiently and effectively? So I don't really look at it as far as more of a balance, but how do I get that done and then still get you some good flavors that would better your health versus what everybody else is giving
And with that being said, let's go ahead and transition to Addy Daddy's seasonings.
you.
What is the story behind creating the business?
So, as you know, I like to cook. So back in college, we would all cook it up, and I'm the main person that would cook. It was me and one of my line brothers. We would be the people that would be cooking, and people would come over to our apartment and stuff like that. So after that, I kept cooking, and all of a sudden, like in 2012, I went to my annual physical. And I'm like, oh, your blood pressure is a little elevated. I said, what? You know, now I'm working out all the time, eating pretty decent. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad. I wasn't eating McDonald's and none of that stuff anymore.
Right.
So I was just kind of curious to say, why is it up? Right. So then I had to start kind of watching things that I was putting inside the body, started getting familiar with reading labels, understanding what the labels meant, which is tough. I mean, even now I still get stuck with certain things where I gotta go Google and be like, what exactly is this ingredient that's in here? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mhm.
And that's when I started going down that journey. And I was getting ready to get married. And my wife's like, we're not gonna just be using Mr. Dash. So I'm
Mhm.
like, all right, let me find what we could do to kind of like be on the same page. And one day I just decided, you know what? Let me smoke a turkey for Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
So I got on the grill and I actually went to Walmart, bought a whole bunch of different things, and put the mix together. And I was like, oh man, this is bomb, right? Smoked the turkey, gone in like 30 minutes.
Mhm.
And turkeys don't ever go that fast in my family. So I was like, oh man, I got to get this to some of my buddies that grill and smoke, right?
Mhm.
So talked to my wife about it. She was like, you should do a big batch. I was like, all right. Started doing some research and I ordered bulk. And I put the same recipe together.
Mhm.
And to my surprise, it did not come out the way I did it first. And that's when I realized, am I getting the best ingredient, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes those, seasonings are on the shelf for like 2 years and then we're getting it. And over time, when it's grounded up, the flavor fades.
Mm.
So that's when, and the color fades away. And it's, you see I'm sure you've seen it in a cabinet to where like it's 2023, but you bought it in like 2020, right? Is when it expires.
Mhm.
But you keep it in a cabinet for that long, it's going to clump up. It's
Yes.
going to lose the flavor that's out of it. And then for the most part, I noticed that a lot of people give you salt for the most part. They add a couple little things in there. So
That's
then
true.
it's cheap. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you can get it for like $2. But when you're buying good quality ingredients, those products tend to be a lot more expensive.
I I love that so much. So when it came to, because I kind of want to dissect that a little bit more.
Okay.
When it came to, of course, you doing it for your personal reasonings. I mean, not reasonings, reasons with the occasion turkey at home for Thanksgiving versus you doing it in bulk. What did that research look like to now put it out there for many people versus just for the family or just for your household?
Well, I started seeing a trend, right? Of how do I want to be careful with the words that I use, right?
Mhm.
So for me personally, I care a lot about people, right?
Mhm.
And it literally hurts me seeing somebody and they look like they're not enjoying life the way they should.
Mhm.
So that became the main thing because if I can change my diet and start eating a little bit better, what about some of the other people that may have high blood pressure? How could I be an impact in their life? Right. And then for them to still be able to enjoy what they're eating. Right. And it's not just about the food because you can use my seasoning on the things you're eating now. But the versatility of it is you can put it on vegetables that are
Mhm.
actually nourishing yourself and still have it taste good versus I don't eat cauliflower because it's just horrible.
Mhm.
But then I bet to say you put my everything seasoning on there, I bet you change your mind. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's those type of things that we have to incorporate into our body and really get us to a place where we're enjoying rather than I'm managing. And that's a term you tend to hear with illnesses and diabetes and all. We're just managing the problem. We're not
Mhm.
changing and getting fixing the problem. And I think it all goes back to food.
That's good.
Yeah.
And so what would you say for those people that say, "I need salt"? There's no flavor without salt. Because I know you've heard that. Like, "I need a little bit of salt and pepper. I can do something with salt and pepper." What do
Well,
you say to those people?
so I do have salt in my stuff, but it's
Mhm.
sea salt and pink Himalayan sea salt, not the iodine,
Mm. It's a
right?
difference.
There's
Mhm.
a difference in it. Pink Himalayan is pure, right? You're getting it straight from the mountain, and you coming in with it, and it's not adding in iodine into it. At the same time, I give you an option of where you can gauge it. So I'm going to start out with what, of course, I made it for me, right?
Mhm.
I start off with what I can tolerate, but that does not mean you can't go up or you can go down. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you still get a chance where you can get it in a way that you want, which is another reason why I came out with the everything salt free, right?
Mhm.
Now you
Mhm.
get to control the amount of salt that you want, but the flavor's still gonna be
Love it.
there.
Okay. It's good. So,
Yeah.
I saw you, well, you've already started, putting out some names of your seasonings. I saw Taco Loco. I think I saw a Chipotle in
Chipotle.
there somewhere. And then you said like everything seasoning. How did you come up with the different names?
Um, man, upon researching, I was looking at some stuff that was already out in the market, right? I was like,
Mhm.
oh man, that'd be kind of cool, right?
How
I thought,
wait, wait, wait. Before you get there, How important is that step for people that's listening right now? Because some people don't do the research. They're like, "Oh, that sounds good. I'm gonna jump right in." How
Yeah.
important is it to do that research before you move forward with naming your product and naming your business, and to make sure it's not already out there?
Um, Man, it's very important. Just because you have to, although you get the vision, you have to also see the road, right? And how to get there, right? So for you to say, and the funniest thing, I did the research and it looked like, I guarantee you, I think it said it was $2,000 for me to start this business. I said, oh, that's not
Not
that
the
bad.
fake.
It's a lot more than that, right? Because it's one thing to just get it started, but it's another thing to keep it going, right? So you have to do the research and really find out if you have the capability of keeping it going.
Mm. Good. Okay, so let's go back to the names. I just thought that was really important because, like I mentioned, we have people that's listening and they're probably at the beginning of their stage with entrepreneurship, and they're like, okay, what do I need to do starting out? So I think those type of questions are needed because you just can't go with the flow when it
Yeah.
comes to the brand, when it comes to the name, when it comes to the company. You do have to sit down and research. Like you mentioned, $2,000. I'm sure you done seen $2,000 tenfold at this point. Like, okay, they lied to me. So I just really wanted to point that out. And so let's go ahead and get to the names and how you created the names.
So, I looked at it and said, what are the things that people typically cook, right?
Mhm.
What do people enjoy? And how can I bring those flavors into the things that they currently enjoy now, but in a different way, right? So everything, literally, I wanted to make something to where you could put it on fish, chicken, pork, spaghetti, anything you can think of, be able to put it on it. Avocado toast. So I literally have about 12 ingredients in that one. So that way it really fits for every dish that you could possibly want. You got cumin, you
Mhm.
got paprika, small paprika, you got parsley that's in there, you got onion powder, garlic powder,
Mhm.
black pepper, you know what I mean, and so forth, and just add everything, which eliminates. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So you buy seasoning now, right?
Great.
You buy a whole bunch of different ones. Let's say, what's your favorite seasoning that you? What was the seasoning that you grew up on? Let's talk about that.
Lowry's.
Lars. So when you get Lars, do you add anything else to that?
We like garlic powder to add to it. Of course, a little black pepper. Um, but yeah, growing up, those were the main three. And of course, older, cayenne pepper, and then all those other things. But younger, it was pretty much those three.
So look at all those steps. You got to add the Lars. You don't already pay for that. Now you got to get black pepper and then some more garlic powder, or maybe onion powder to add back to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I give you one thing. So I just took away those three steps because I have all the things that you're looking for in there. Now you get the flavor that you're looking for. The only thing that you may even want to add to it, maybe just a little bit more sea salt, and then you're done. So look, taking that aspect of how can I create something that will go on everything and then have less steps? Because as we know, let's just say, back in the day we had your mom was at home or you had somebody at home that would do the cooking and all that. We don't have that anymore. It's 2021. Everybody's working. You have to go to work. You know what I mean? So it's how do we come up with things that make it easy at the same time, you get to enjoy the things that you put on the table in a fast manner.
So when you got started, did you do like an in-house target market to see if your seasonings went well, or was it like you and your wife, or just some family members or friends? What did that process look like?
Some friends, I would send it out. Like, hey man, try it. You know what I mean? And they would have their one that they just locked in on. Like, whoa, this honey chipotle, this is mine, right?
Mhm.
And after some time, and I'm just like, because I create the full line, right? Out of you being able to pick the things that you feel like that day, which is bringing about balance. Because some of my stuff they do have sugar in it, right? because I'm not a big one on like sugar isn't good. Let's just put it like that. But
True.
at the same time, it's how well are you controlling the intake? It becomes really, really bad because everything that we consume has some sugar in it, but it's called different names. And that's why reading those labels are very important. You know, when you're looking at maltodroxin, which has a higher level of the glycemic level, it's way higher than that than just regular processed sugar.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So if somebody has diabetes, they have to be, if they're watching to see is there sugar on, you gotta look at that too. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So because it's gonna raise your blood sugar. So those type of things I started looking at and just saying, all right, I want to have fun too because I want a balanced approach to, the diet that I create for myself and the lifestyle. So if I'm wanting the Cajun, it's gonna have a little bit of sweet, give it the color that I need. Once I sear my fish or shrimp, and just pop it up, and it bounces out with the heat and the other flavors that I have in there, right? So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Ooh, okay.
Mm,
So, I did read that your wife is involved as well with the marketing aspect of the
mm.
business. So, I want to know, what did that look like for you guys to come together to build this business?
Well, so she's like big into art, right?
Okay.
And use her part in this is very, very important
Yeah.
because look at my logo and you look at the brand design, I had absolutely nothing to do with that.
Shout out to the wife.
Because people ask me this all the time, like, how'd you come up with the color schemes of everything? And I'm like, well, I can only answer that, right?
Right.
He knew what kind of colors to project and what would catch the eye. But I
Mhm.
have my small inputs on, oh man, that looks good. Like, nah, I don't really like that one. Let's make it a little bit, greener or something like that, right? Because we want to project what kind of ingredients are in there. So when you look at the honey chipotle, right? It's bees, they're yellow. You know what I mean? So we want that to be what that projects out. It's gonna have a little heat, it's gonna have some sweetness. It stings when a bee stings you, you're gonna feel it.
I like it.
But
Okay.
it's also sweet at the same time, right?
Mhm.
Uh, with the everything, you're getting parsley, oregano, those
Mhm.
type of greenish products that's in there. So it only made sense for the everything to be a little greener. At least that's what she told me. But
Oh, because you are laying it out so good. I was like, wow, this is great.
she loves doing that. We've gotten tons of compliments on it, and just the name itself, like it just catches people's attention. And it's just like Eddie. And then they look at the logo and the head kind of just swivels, and I'm like, oh, all right. Hey, let me talk to you for a second, right?
Mhm.
Let me tell you who we are and what we have to offer.
Ooh. I want to know your thoughts when you guys saw Tabitha Brown use the Addy Daddy in her. I don't know if it was a live or if it was just a video, but she used the seasoning
Mm.
Taco Loco, and she gave an amazing review of it. So, what were your thoughts as you were watching it?
So I was actually cooking at the time,
Mhm.
and my wife, she's a teacher, so her principal sent her a message. She said, "Hey, Tabitha Brown is getting ready to use your seasoning," and we're like, "What?" Because when she got it initially, somebody broke into a car, so we thought it was part of the stuff that somebody took. So it really caught us by surprise that she was using it. So the whole family kind of just huddled up together and we watched her use it. It was awesome. It was awesome. I will have to say that. And the fact that
That's
she enjoyed it, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what we want people to, the feeling that we want them to be able to have when they try our product. It's like, man, this thing is good.
so good. Okay. So, with that being stated, the next set of questions is pretty much going to be around your journey. Um, The first one is about your highs and your lows. So, what were some high moments that you can say, if it's your personal life or, Addy Daddy's, where you can be like, okay, we did that. We jumped over some milestones, we jumped over some hurdles, and we got to where we are today. And it's just a thankful moment. So, I saw that you do testimonies too. So,
I
what's
do.
a testimony within your journey?
That's a hard one. It's a really hard question. And I'll tell you why. I am still in the process of learning how to appreciate the milestones I've accomplished. And that has to be told to me by my friends and my wife, right? Like, hey, we've done this. I don't see it often because the goal that I haven't reached it yet. And that's something that in 2021 that I'm working on, being able to appreciate what I'm accomplishing. And it's sometimes, I mean, let's be honest, it's the little things that really bring us the joy, not the huge stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
not paying enough attention to the little milestones that I'm making,
Mm.
and I think I'm missing out. So, as far as my testimony, I would probably just charge it to being able to hear people talk about the product and love it the way that I do.
Love it. Okay. And to counterpart that, what would you say is a low that made you question Addie's daddies or anything within the journey that you were just like, I don't know if I should move forward with this idea or this plan, but instead you did it. So the first part is the low, and then how did you persevere to continue?
Um, I would say I think it kind of mirrors the not taking in the small wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, because the lows are, man, it's not moving fast enough. I'm not getting to the people that I want to get to in a manner that I want to get to, right? So those end up being the lows, but I think how that gets flipped is the why, and that's what continues to push me forward because the why is I want to be able to help you on your journey when it comes to how you're eating because I believe in food and I believe in that being a healing power to us, right? And we don't take in enough credit how important that is when we destroy our gut by putting in all the things that we shouldn't. You know what I mean? And if I'm able to contribute my part to it and make your life a little easier and you get a chance to enjoy life a little better and your kids, and I think that's important because we talk about generational curses, right?
It's true.
But really, they're habits.
Hmm.
So how can we break those habits? So I've taken the initiative to say, all right, I have kids now, and that's where the daddy part comes in, right? I have kids now. How do I want them to grow? They love vegetables, but if I didn't feed it to them in a way they could enjoy it, they'd still be eating burgers or
It's
mac
true.
and cheese all day, right?
Mhm.
But as we know, you put a lot of that stuff into your body time, over time, it breaks down. So I look at us as like plants. What are we putting into it to grow and feed
Mm. Okay.
us?
So, what is one free advice you could give somebody that's listening? The reason I always ask this question is because certain times people have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to hear about certain things within the expert industries, right? And so for me, as you mentioned, those little things count.
Yep.
So if you have one thing to just teach an entrepreneur or somebody within the seasoning industry or anything of that nature, what would it be?
I would say understand your why, right?
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's going to fuel you. And that's what's going to challenge you at the same time. Because if your why is really important to contribute to humanity, you find ways to get it done.
Mhm.
So that would probably be it. Because my why, we can have 20,000 people doing seasonings. My why
Mhm.
is different from everybody else doing it.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So understanding and having confidence in your why is what really propels you.
Mm. Come on, Addy Daddy. I like that. Alrighty, so even though we're in the pandemic, do you have anything that's upcoming for you guys? Any vendor expos? Because I saw, are you still doing any vendor? Are you still?
We're on the farmers market. I
Okay.
can't get out today, but I plan on being out there Friday, and we typically at the urban farmers market,
Okay.
right Las Colinas. It's usually from like 9 to 12.
Okay.
So we try to do that. Hopefully, hopefully when COVID kind of subsides and we get back to some sort of normalcy, we'll be doing big events like Zest Fest and then Taste of Dallas. So hopefully they still put it on because I was really disappointed that it didn't come to fruition and the Texas Black Expo too. So we'll see.
We got hope. Praying hands. Praying hands. Okay. So how can people get in touch with you as far as, Instagram, website, like to purchase Addy Daddies?
So we can be reached at Addy Daddy Seasoning on Instagram and Facebook. And if you go into Google and just put Addy Daddy Seasoning, we'll be the ones to pop up. So that's the best way to reach out to us. And I'm also, I also invite if you have questions about labeling, things that you want to find out about, you can always shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to look it up. If I don't have the answers, I'll definitely reach out to an expert.
Yes. And he also provides tips, you guys, on the Instagram. So make sure you tune in. Because I was looking, I was like, that's good with the whole potassium versus sodium.
Oh
That
yeah,
was that was nice.
it was definitely interesting to me because this has challenged me to look at different avenues of
Mhm.
how to reduce things. You know what I mean? And there's still a whole bunch of different herbs and stuff like that I've gone into that even helps people with diabetes, right? So I think it was milk thistle, right? Could be a potential thing that you could use, and it kind of helps with it, right?
Mhm.
It boosts your immune system, and we also, my wife and I, we recently started doing. Well, we've been doing it for a little while now. Intermittent fasting.
Yeah,
Um,
it's between like 12 and 8. That's the only time you eat.
there's so many different ones. There's so many
Okay.
different, and it depends on what your goal is. But I
Mm.
I enjoy it because when we eat so often,
Mhm.
body's only focus is to break down the food that we're eating,
Mhm.
and it doesn't do the repairs it's supposed to do. So during those times when you're doing the fasting, it's repairing your body, and then you get back to eating what you want, and then you realize that you eat less too.
Mhm.
So now you're eating to live. You know what I mean? Not living to
Mhm.
eat.
Mm. Well, for people who don't know, can you explain that process as far as the fasting and what that looks like?
So for me, the latest that I eat is 7 p.m. And then the very first time that I eat in the morning is about 11 a.m. So that gives me a good range of time to be able to digest all the food that I put in. And then at the same time, give my body some time to repair itself.
Okay. And so, let's say, of course, the other times you're going to be sleeping. When you wake up, you can only like drink water. Can you drink
Water, water.
shakes?
I drink tea, but there's
Okay.
I don't put any sugar or anything like that in there. You can do lemon. Like I drink like a hibiscus tea. So I
Nice.
get flour because that also helps with blood pressure as well to reduce it. Um, throw some ginger in there, some lemon, and fire that thing up, and then I just sip through that with no sugar. Because if you put as soon as you put sugar, the body's gonna start getting back to work.
Mm. So you want to make sure that your body's still at a low before you get to 11 o'clock. Okay. I learned
Exactly.
something. So
And
I
then
always say, go ahead.
also too, I think it kind of it helps out with sleep
Mm.
because I've done a lot of research now, and that's actually that may the why. And then the second thing that I would say to entrepreneurs is make sure you get some rest, because if you don't, you're not that whole facade of everybody saying you've got to work all through the midnight. No, you have to work smart. There's a difference.
Yes. Yes, I agree, because that's the trend now, that you won't get nowhere if you don't, work, 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 and I'm like,
I
"Well, I think you need to take a break here and there."
mean, you do, and you have to
Mhm.
set a schedule for yourself. And in the midst of researching the people that are successful, right? Um, they have one thing in common: they schedule everything. They schedule time to watch TV. They schedule time to work out, time to read, time to take emails. Everything is scheduled and planned, and then they schedule time for their family. And oftentimes we lose sight of what's really important, which is family, because you take that away, you're broken. You know what I mean? So um, that's one of my also things is to make sure I don't lose the side of the focus, because you start your why because you want to contribute, but the family also needs
Yeah, that definitely goes together. Thank you for
you.
sharing that. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have any last thoughts? Because the conversation is it. Do you have any other last thoughts or any tidbits for the people?
So why don't you tell us where you want the podcast to go?
So, where I ultimately want to go with it is to be a nonprofit. I want to have a safe space, pretty much a building, where people can come and get the same knowledge, but in person. So my hope is me bringing people on. I'm building a network. I'm building relationships and things of that nature because I want to be accessible for other people to have that same information. So I want it to be where I can call Addy and say, hey, I have this young lady here. She would like to learn the industry. She wants to start her own seasoning blend, but she just does not know how. Can you come in and maybe help us get through some things? Like, I want it to be where people can have assistance wherever they are in life. I realized with the podcast for me, I had to stop thinking of, meeting people only them getting started with the podcast.
Yeah.
I wanted to help them in every space. If you need help with, going virtual at this point and you don't know what equipment that you need to have, I can help you with that. I need help with marketing, Bree. I can help you with that. So if I can help you, of course I want to be there. But if I can't, let's bring my network and my village so we can always be here for one another. So if you want a studio is going to be there. If you need financial advisors, they're going to be there. I want it to be a safe space to where everybody can just enjoy and get knowledge from one another, not draining anybody. I don't want anybody to feel drained because I know that happens. Like you can just give so much, and then after a while you just feel drained because you forgot about yourself. So I want this to be a feel good for everybody that's involved. So ultimately, that's where I want the podcast.
Really dope. That's really dope.
Thank you. It might be a TV show. Who knows?
I forgot. We didn't even talk about my hot sauce.
Because you do have a hot sauce. Go ahead
Better
and
than
tell
everybody
people
else.
about the hot sauce.
And I think that's an interesting story too. So I made that hot sauce out of being upset at a restaurant. Yeah.
I heard that. The po' boy, right?
Oh boy. I'm like, how do you destroy a good meal? It's supposed to add to it, not take anything away. So, and I think that's why we focus here. I know we talk about the low sodium part, but the main core is what we're adding to it, which is flavor, right? You want to be able to add that flavor into it and just say, "Wow, this is awesome," right? So I'll give you another quick story. My mother-in-law used to hate my father-in-law using hot sauce. He wouldn't try the food. He'd start putting hot sauce on it, right? So, so she was like, she would be upset and like, you didn't even try my food, and I just slaved over it. Now you put hot sauce on it. When I came out with this one, she was like, I use that hot sauce too now. She didn't really like hot sauce, but it adds that heat that you need, doesn't kill you, but has this freshness that's in it and something so unique to where you're like, oh, everybody asks me all the time, do you put tomatoes in there? It's just, you put sugar in there? No, I don't put sugar in there. But and that's part of some of my things of trying to keep out as much artificial stuff and using as many fresh ingredients as I possibly can in those sauces.
And you're into like the carbon footprint too. Like you're very conscious with that too, as well, right? With the packaging of it.
Now we are.
Okay.
The pandemic actually really opened our eyes. It was almost like we hit a roadblock and we couldn't get packaging supplies. Everybody was running out. I had friends, searching everywhere for me. We just couldn't get it. And then we just started talking, and all of a sudden, I'm explaining this to my sister, and she said 2 weeks ago, I've been thinking about this, because I think it would be great for you. And I was like, what? And so she mentioned something about the flat packs that we have now, and I was like, what? I was like, why'd you hide it for 2 weeks? I just don't want to get into your business. And I said, look, I'm not that type of guy that
Mhm.
feels that I know it all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I'm so much into the weeds, and we get there sometimes
Mhm.
where people on the outside can see exactly what's happening and can pull us right back out to say, "Hey, we need to switch to this." So did some research, looked for things that would match our branding, and we landed on some rice paper, right? So now you chunked it, it's biodegradable versus having that big old chunk of plastic and then you throwing that away every single time.
Mhm.
And global warming is real, as we
Yes,
can
it is.
tell.
Right. We can.
So that's something that we want to try to focus on and just get better at, you know?
Mhm. That's really good. Because I
Hmm.
know some companies don't think about it. So that's good. So you received a lot of um I wouldn't say change your mind or anything, but just reality during the pandemic on certain things that you need to change for the business.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think in corporate, everybody likes to say, you need to be agile, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So, so I mean, things are gonna hit you, and you have to be able to bounce back and, and,
Mhm,
and navigate back up north, right? So, um, that happened. Glad that it happened
mhm.
because it showed me some things even within our process that we can improve. So,
That's always good, right?
yeah,
All right. So, as you guys know, we always end the conversation with motivational moment. It could be a scripture that I come across that I really, really enjoyed, something that I saw on TV, scrolling on Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case may be. I bring it on here to share with my guests and also share my thoughts as well. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
So, you're going to laugh, but it really hit me hard. You're going to. So, it comes from Boondocks.
Okay,
Remember the show?
of course.
Okay, okay, okay. Just want to make sure. So this is the episode where Riley was a basketball player
Okay.
and he didn't know how to shoot.
Hmm.
So he had all the handles in the world, but he didn't know how to shoot. So when he first got he lost basically. He got in the game. He just knew he was gonna win because he was too cocky, but didn't know how to shoot for a darn thing in his life. So him and Huey, yeah, Riley and Huey was going to bed. Quotations. Riley said, Huey, I hate losing. And then Huey said, well, stop beating yourself up.
Mm.
So, as we all know, Huey always had some like real spiritual, deep thoughts, things of that nature. But this one hit me because I do feel like we beat ourselves up so much to where we forget what the lesson is.
You just hit me with that.
That's like so as I heard, that's what I thought about. It was like an epiphany. It's like we do forget the lessons. Like certain times when a plan does not go right, or we have this big idea, because I know that has happened to me like within the past month, to where I'm kind of nervous to move forward because I don't want to lose again after putting in so much darn work. And when I took a step back and realized, okay, well, just tweak a couple of things and keep moving, something eventually is going to happen.
Yeah,
And so when I first saw that, I guess it hit me because that's something presently that I'm going through. Like I'm just not like we starting season 4. I was like, I got to keep it consistent. I want to make sure I get the right people on here. I want to make sure that we're still touching people, we're still staying genuine, and I don't want to change up anything at this point.
yeah,
And so it was like don't beat yourself up. It's okay if we don't do the same. It's okay if the numbers go down. Like, it's okay. And so, even just with a lot of other projects, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I just realized that I was just beating myself up to where I didn't want to progress. And
yeah.
so, as I'm reading that, what are some thoughts that came to you?
Well, I think it also touched on the milestones that I was talking about earlier, right? Of
Mhm,
us like at milestones, we're shooting for the stars, but we beat ourselves up on the big win rather than taking in the small wins, right? And you know, truthfully, it's when you said that and you talked about hitting the numbers and things of that nature, right? It's the journey. It's the journey of saying you actually win. If you were to look at yesterday and say, was it better than yesterday? So you've already won because that is the goal, to be better each day. So to look back, I look back at some of the first photography we were taking of food. They were trash. You know what I mean? Make people want to like, oh, I need to eat that. Although it tasted really, really good, I didn't understand lighting, right? And I'm still getting better at it because my wife, she understands that. And that's whenever I take a, you can tell she just made a joke. You can tell when I post versus when she posts. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not gonna wait around. I'm gonna get it done. You know what I mean? But that's not my strong suit, and that's just me being honest. But I still make the effort, right? So I can look at myself and say, I can probably guarantee you a year from now, I'll be better than I was today. Right? So I think ultimately we beat ourselves up because we're not there yet. But the real goal is, what are we doing today for tomorrow to be
Come on.
better?
You talking about I hit you, you hit me, home run. I just want to thank you so much for coming on today.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it and enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, so I just want to say, everybody that's listening, please, please, please check him out. Check the seasonings out. Check out the tidbits. Check out the testimonies. Check out all of that good stuff. Everything and all things, Addy. Just please make sure that you guys support him.
So, for all your
Go ahead.
listeners, if they go in and they drop in your podcast name, 15, they'll get 15% off their first order.
What's good 15? We just want to make sure. What's good 15?
Yeah.
Indeed. So as y'all know, we are a community that supports people. Y'all know I have my Working Men Wednesdays, Working Women Wednesdays, and y'all be like, okay, what's going on? This is what's happening. So please support this man, and not only support him, he supported you by giving you percentage off. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So we just want to say thank you guys. As you guys know, we come out every Monday. And if you're listening to this morning, noon, or night, have a great one, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you. Have a good one.